welcome or welcome back to Mia's Life with Books. For the past 2 years, I have had a 24 books to read in 2024 or 25 books to read in 2025 list. So ready for 2026, I have made a 26 books to read in 2026 TBR. So these are 26 books that I am hoping to get to in 2026. They are top of my priority and I'm hoping to get them all read. However, I haven't been able to complete one of these TBRs yet because even though at the start of the year or before the year starts, they're all the ones that I really want to get to, for some reason I just never end up getting to them all. I think in 2024 I read 18 out of 24, and at the moment on my 2025 TBR, I think I'm also at 18 out of 25, but I am hoping to tick off at least one more before the end of the year. We might get to 19 out of 25. I'm not sure, we'll see. It might even get higher than 19. It depends what I read this month, I suppose. Yeah, I was determined to finish it this year, but that just didn't happen. And I think that is also because of certain books that I put on the list, that I kind of put on the list because it was more like I need to read them because I need to get them off my TBR, as opposed to I really want to read them. And also I put a lot of intimidating books on there, which I think is good because it does give me a push to read them, and that did work for some of the books. But I think, for example, I had Priory of the Orange Tree on there, and I think that's a book that I don't need to put on a list like this because I think it's a book that I'm only going to read when I'm ready to tackle it, and I think it was a bit too much pressure having a book like that on this TBR, and it just kind of made me want to avoid it even more and read the other ones on the list. So I think I'm not going to put that book on this TBR this time around, but I have got a couple of carryovers from last year's, well, this year technically because we're not in 2026 yet. So I have got a couple of carryovers, which ones that I do really want to read and get to that I just didn't for whatever reason. We will get to those later. So I have split this into a few different categories. So I've got books that are on my Kindle TBR. I've got books that are on my physical TBR, which is the majority of these books because I did want to prioritize them. And I've also got a section for books on my physical TBR that have been on my TBR for years. I've also got a couple of books that are completing series. I could have had some more ones that are continuing series, but I thought a lot of series I'm probably going to want to continue anyway. But I think these two are completing duologies specifically, and they're both duologies that I really want to complete, so I thought they were good to add on. And then the last one, like I said, is carryovers from before. So again, this is kind of like when I made my 5-star prediction video where I don't know a lot about these books, so I'm not going to be able to give you like synopsis, but I'm just going to be able to tell you why I want to read it, why I chose it for this TBR, and what I think my thoughts are going to be, I suppose. And there will be some crossover from my 5-star prediction video to this video because obviously with this TBR I really wanted to choose books that I knew I was going to love, so I think a lot of them are 5-star predictions for me. Not all of them though, so there are some new ones mixed in. But yeah, so I think we should just get into it because obviously 26 books are a lot of books to talk about. I think we're going to start with the Kindle TBR category first, and the first on that list is Legend Born by Tracy Dion. Obviously this is the first one in a series. I do actually own the other 2 books on my Kindle as well, so hopefully I could end up reading all of them next year, but I definitely want to at least read Legend Born. I think this one was in my 5-star predictions video, and as I said then, so many people rave about this book and love it, and I just keep saying to everyone, oh, like, I'm so happy you love this, like, I really need to read this soon, and people keep telling me I need to read it soon, and yet it's still just sat on my Kindle for a while. So I think putting it on this TBR is a good idea because it's one that I really want to read, and I think having it on the TBR will make me think, oh, a good excuse to pick it up. So I am excited for this one. Then we have Heavenly Bodies by Imani Ariu. This book is one that I know I'm gonna love so much, and one that I was dying to get my hands on when it was announced and everyone was talking about it, and then I snagged it on a 99p deal, and for some reason I just haven't picked it up yet, and I think that is an absolute tragedy because I just know I'm gonna love it, and for a book that I was so excited for, I can't believe I just let it rot on my Kindle. So this is definitely one of my top priorities going into 2026. So of course it just had to be on this TBR. Then we have Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. I loved The Sword of Kaigan by this author, and I think they are very different vibes. However, I loved the writing and the way that the characters were kind of presented and the way that you felt connected to them. So I feel like that could still come across no matter what the vibes of the story are. And I have also heard amazing things about this one as well. and I recently got this on a 99p deal, which made me super excited because it was a book that I'd had on my radar for a very long time after finishing The Sword of Kaigan, so I'm excited to finally have it and to therefore be able to put it on this TBR. Oh yeah, because another thing I didn't mention is I haven't put any books on this 2026 TBR that I don't already own in some format. In my 2025 TBR I did 5 books I didn't yet own, and they were all new releases for this year, which I did end up reading all of them anyway. That's another reason why I haven't put new releases on this list, because I feel like with my most anticipated releases, like those 5 were, it was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to end up reading them anyway, so I thought it feels like a waste of a space on this TBR, if that makes sense, because while it means I'm going to be more successful because I'm definitely going to read them anyway, I felt like it could give me a bit of a boost to read some other books if I put them on. So that's why I haven't put any new releases on there, and I obviously haven't put any other books that I don't own because I'm trying to encourage myself to, you know, get through the books that I do already own. But anyway, back to Blood Over Brighthaven. I did, like I said, recently got this one on my Kindle, so I'm super excited to finally be able to read it, and I'm hoping I'm going to love it just as much as I loved The Sword of Kaigan. Then we have Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Again, in my 5-star predictions video, I was saying how I'd wanted to read this book for years. I only recently managed to get it on my Kindle and in another 99p deal. So now that I have it again, I want to make it a priority, just because it's been building up for years and years in my head as a book that I really want to read and really think I'm going to enjoy. So again, I kind of wanted to make this one a priority going into next year as well. Then I have P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connolly, I believe, and I've heard really good things about this one. I'm pretty sure it's a second chance romance, which I do quite enjoy, and I think this one sounds a lot of fun from what I have heard. I'm pretty sure they kind of have to go on this travelling situation together, travelling across the states or the world. I don't know, I think it's something about travelling with an ex, I believe. But either way, I've heard amazing things about this one. And again, it was another one that I kind of had on my radar for quite a while before I got it. So again, it's another one that I kind of want to make a priority as a romance book going into 2026. Then I have Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This is just such an OG popular book in social media, and I know not everyone loves it, but the general consensus is that this is a great book and a 5-star for many, many people. And again, I think this is a second chance romance, so I think I'm going to enjoy it. And I have enjoyed Christina Lauren's books in the past, so I definitely think now is the time to pick this one up, and hopefully I will enjoy it as much as I think I'm going to enjoy it. Lastly, for the Kindle TBR section, I have No One Saw a Thing by Andrea Mara. I've heard amazing things about this thriller author, but I haven't read any of her books. This is the only one that I own on Kindle, so I think it's a good place to start, and it is one of the more popular ones I've heard more about, and I think it's a very interesting concept. I can't remember too clearly what it's about, but I think it's something about like 2 kids get on a train and only one comes off or something. I might be wrong. I bet it's something to do with a train and children going missing, I'm pretty sure. But either way, it sounds good, and I think it's going to be a good one to introduce me to this author, and hopefully I will enjoy it and then read more of her books. So now moving on to the main physical TBR section, and this is just full of mainly a lot of books that I've gained in the past year. I don't think any of these books I've had for longer than the past year, or maybe like year and a half, kind of since I restarted my booktok, which was the end of September in 2024. So yeah, like a year and 3 months, 4 months-ish, you know, that kind of time frame. I think this is when I have got all of these books. Some of them are newer than others, but I think most of them are from this year specifically, but I think there might be a couple that were from like the end of 2024. But yeah, so all of these are quite new on my TBR, but I don't want them to become books that I keep for years upon years. So now is the time to read them all. And starting off strong, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I am a fantasy girly. I love my fantasy books so much, and the fact that I still haven't read this despite owning it for quite a while now is really something. But I think I was kind of waiting for the right time to read it, and I feel like going into a new year is the right time to read it, if that makes sense. Like kind of starting fresh with a reading for a year, I think it's time to get into this series, because I also own Iron Flame, and also I'm pretty sure the paperback for Onyx Storm will come out at the start of next year, since that was when the hardback came out this year. So I'm hoping that if I enjoy Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, then I can get the paperback of Onyx Storm and it will all be okay. But they are chunky books, especially Iron Flame, but obviously Fourth Wing is the one on this list, so that is the priority. But I'm hoping I'm going to really enjoy it because it's a very core BookTok book that I feel like all the fantasy girlies have read and loved, especially this first one in particular. So I definitely think it's just one that just needs to be crossed off the list. I just need to read it, and I think I am going to enjoy it. So I think 2026 is finally time to read this one. Then I have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favourite authors. I do want to read the rest of her backlist as well, hopefully next year, but the one that I've put on is Atmosphere because I think that is my priority read, with it being her newest release. Kind of all the buzz and love around it at the moment is making me really want to read it. I definitely think this is kind of a no-brainer for 2026, which is why I put this on this list. And I can't believe I haven't read it already, to be honest, but I definitely know I'm going to love this one because I love everything she writes. I still haven't read a book by her that has been under a 5-star, so I think that says something. Then I have The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I own 2 of the books in this trilogy, and I also own the Dance of Thieves duology, which comes after this one. So since I own most of the book, I think it just makes sense to finally get a start on this universe and this world, and I'm super excited to do that. I've been hearing about this book in particular for years and years. I remember when it was big back on BookTube when I started watching BookTube, which was probably back in like 2016, 2017 maybe, and it's kind of been on my radar since then. But I think it's kind of come back into popularity recently, so I think that's kind of what drew me back to the series. And now, like I said, I own multiple of the books in this universe. It just makes sense to finally get started with it. Then I have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I was gifted the whole trilogy for my birthday from one of my uni friends, Holly, so thank you, Holly. And I love V.E. Schwab, and this is a series that has always, again, kind of been on my radar and one that I've wanted to pick up just because I love her writing and I wanted to try something that seems a bit different to what I've read from her before, as I've read Addie LaRue and Gallant. I feel like I've read more from her just because I love her so much as an author, but I haven't. But yeah, I think A Dark Shade of Magic almost to me seems a bit more like a traditional fantasy book, but I'm sure because it's V.E. Schwab it will still be unique and still have something different and special. But you know, I think whereas Addie LaRue definitely has a different vibe to your typical fantasy, I think this book kind of steers closer to that, if you know what I mean. But I think it's going to be amazing, and again, I've heard amazing things about it, and it's V.E. Schwab, so why would I not want to put it on this TBR? Then I have Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. This is a very new purchase for me, and it's one that I am so excited to read. It's just top of my priority at the moment, so again, it was like a no-brainer to add it to this TBR. And again, I just think I'm going to really enjoy this one, and I think it seems like a very fun book with, again, a very unique concept, and I just think I'm going to love it. So I want to get it read ASAP. Then we have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This was one that I'd wanted for a long time, and I did finally get myself a physical copy of the first book, and for some reason I still haven't read it, but I think I've spoken about this before, and I've mentioned that the second and third books in this trilogy are at my local library in my uni city, so it's kind of like I need to read it before I graduate uni so I can read it hopefully at the start of next year and then go to the library to get the other 2. So I think that's why it needs to be on the 2026 TBR for the first half of 2026, so I can kind of get the whole series read using my library. Because for some reason they didn't have this first book, but they had the other 2. I don't know why, but I could have got it ordered in, but I kind of wanted to own a copy of the first book at least anyway. So then we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This is just everything that I love in a fantasy. It's like a whimsical Asian mythology inspired book, and I always love those books and rate them very highly. So I think this is going to be right up my street, and I think I'm going to love it. So again, it just had to be a priority for 2026. I don't know what really else to say about that one. And then we have The Thrashers by Julie Soto. This seems like a very fun YA mystery thriller, and again, it's one that I bought semi-recently, so it's obviously one that I was quite excited for and still am excited for. So I think for this one, it was just kind of a book that as I was scrolling through TBR list on my Goodreads, it was just one that kind of jumped out to me, and I was like, yeah, I want to put that on the TBR. So here it is. Then we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I had kind of made it my mission to read this year, in the sense that I kept saying at every chance I had that I would read it soon. It was top of many of my priority TBRs. It was a book that had been a 5-star prediction. It was in so many videos of me saying I really want to read this book soon. So I've had it since my birthday in May. One of my friends, Matt, gifted it to me, so again, thank you, Matt. That's another reason why I really want to get to it, because I've said to her, yeah, I'm gonna read it and I'll let you know what I think and everything, and I just for some reason have still not picked this up, and I don't know why. But I think now it's so close to the end of the year, it's like I think this is a perfect book to go on the 2026 TBR. So it's like I could read it before the end of the year, but now it's like I kind of feel like I want to put it on this TBR so I can read it next year when I again start my kind of fresh slate of reading. It's definitely going to be read next year, and hopefully towards the start of the year, because I just can't have it on my TBR for any longer because it's getting silly now the amount of times that I said I was going to read it really soon and just haven't. So it just needs to be done, and I think I'm going to love it anyway. So we have Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. This is a murder mystery set in a fantasy setting, and I just think I'm going to love that so much. This is one that I haven't heard very many people speaking about, but I saw one person speaking about it and it kind of hooked me in, and I went and got myself a copy, and it's one that I think I'm going to absolutely love, and in my head has kind of been on the tops of priority TBRs as well, but for some reason I just haven't got round to it. I don't know if that is because it's not spoken about that much, so it's not always at the forefront of my mind, but I definitely want to make sure it's a priority because I do think I'm going to love it. So again, that's why that's on this TBR. Then we have The Dagger in the Flame by Catherine Doyle. I bought this book and then I feel like I was hearing mixed things about it, but then recently I've started to hear even more positive things, so it's got me excited about it again. I think I am going to enjoy it. I feel like someone may have compared it to These Violent Delights. Jamie read this, who's one of my favourite booktubers, and I swear I could have sworn, was it her that said that? No, oh no. It wasn't Jamie, it was actually, Jamie did read this and did enjoy this series so far. That has made me want to read it more because she really enjoyed it, but it's actually my friend Jenny that read this. Jenny told me that it gives her the same vibes as These Violent Delights. I think in the kind of rivalry gang setting, potentially. I'm pretty sure it was this book, and I'm pretty sure it was These Violent Delights. I'm pretty sure it was Jenny. But either way, I think I've become more excited again to read this one, so again, I kind of wanted to put it on this TBR to kind of keep that excitement going. Lastly, for this main chunk of my physical TBR, I have put The Grandest Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, mainly because I don't know why I still haven't read this one. I love the Inheritance Games world so much, and I enjoyed The Brothers Hawthorne, which is kind of the bridge between the original trilogy and this new trilogy. I also own the second book on my Kindle, and I own Games Untold, which is the set of novellas, which I think you read in between The Grandest Game and Glorious Rivals, I think it's called. So there's so many books that I need to get to that I just really need to get a move on with this series, and I don't know what's been stopping me from picking it up. So I think again putting this on the TBR will give me just that nudge to kind of remind me that I need to read it, if that makes sense. Now we have kind of a subsection of books on my physical TBR, and these are the ones that I've had on my TBR for years. I didn't choose too many of them, mainly because I think a lot of the books now I have had on my TBR for years are kind of books that I'm not convinced that I will get round to. I do want to try to get to some of them, but I think because I've had some of them for so long now, it's kind of like my reading taste has kind of changed a bit to the point where I'm not sure if I want to go back and read them. But these three are ones that I would like to try and read because I don't think I've given two of them at least a fair chance. And the first of those is The Book of Night by Holly Black. I loved the Folk of the Air trilogy by Holly Black. That is one of my all-time favourite fantasy series, and I think that is why I pre-ordered this book when it first came out. I think I pre-ordered it without really knowing anything about it, so when it arrived I kind of wasn't actually that interested in it just because I didn't have any idea what it was about, and at the time I don't think many people were speaking about it, and I still haven't heard that many people talk about it. I have seen a couple people post about it and mention that it is really good, so that's kind of encouraged me a little bit more to think about picking this one up and giving it a go, which is why I've put this on the TBR again to give me a little bit of a push. And similar to that is A Wilderness of Stars by Shea Earnshaw. I don't know. I read The Wicked Deep by this author, which was a really fun kind of witchy book. I read that quite a few years ago to be honest, but I did really enjoy it, so again I pre-ordered this one. Again, pre-ordering it without knowing anything about it, and I actually haven't heard anyone really speaking about this at all, but I just want to kind of jump in, dive in and give it a go and see if I enjoy it, because I think it could be one that I do really enjoy, especially if it's got the same kind of, not necessarily has to be witchy, but the same kind of magical whimsy kind of vibes, but kind of like with a bit of a darker note to it. I think if it's giving the same kind of vibe to The Wicked Deep, I could really potentially enjoy it, so I think I just want to give that one a go. Lastly, for this kind of old TBR section, I have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I obviously have owned this one for years, hence why it's in this category, and for some reason I just haven't picked it up, and I'm not entirely sure why. For me, it was also quite a chunky book for a romance, but in the summer I think I should try and read this one, because I think if I don't read it in the summer of 2026, it's probably never going to get read, so I just need to give it a go, and hopefully I will enjoy it more than I thought I would. Then we're moving on to the series category, so I only have two of these, and the first of them is Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. But this will be completing not only the Foul Lady Fortune duology, but the whole Shanghai universe as a whole for me, which is very bittersweet, but I definitely want to make finishing this duology a priority, because then there's also another series by Chloe Gong, which is the The first book is called Immortal Longings, but why can I not? Oh, Flesh and False God. I literally have it here, Immortal Longings here. Yeah, I want to dive into that trilogy as well, so I need to wrap up this one, but I also just really want to dive into Foul Heart Huntsman and finish it anyway, and it was just one of the series that I wanted to finish the most, which is why I put it on here. And then we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. So this is the sequel to The Stolen Heir, which is a separate duology that is like a spin-off from the Folk of the Air trilogy, which, like I already mentioned, I absolutely loved that. And I did really enjoy The Stolen Heir, I just didn't enjoy it as much. And I believe I finished The Stolen Heir around this time last year, which is a whole year ago, and I haven't picked up The Prisoner's Throne. So I still need to pick that up, and I think I'm going to enjoy it, as I did enjoy The Stolen Heir. So I don't really know why I've waited this long to complete it, but again, I think this is one of the ones I put on this list kind of as like a reminder to myself to then pick it up, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the other one that I've put on here to complete a series, which again also completes the Elfhame kind of universe for me. So these are big books for me. Lastly, I've got two carryovers from my 2025 TBR, and the first of those is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And in fact, Red Queen was actually a carryover from my 2024 TBR onto my 2025 TBR. I felt like because I still hadn't read it this year, I kind of owed it to myself to then also put it on this 2026 TBR, despite not having read it for the last 2 years, because I do genuinely really want to get to this book and this series, because I actually have owned the first 3 books for years. But again, this could have also fit into the old TBR category because I've had it for the longest time, and I just think I'm going to really enjoy it, because a lot of people say when they're complaining about Powerless by Lauren Roberts, they're saying it is essentially the same thing as Red Queen. Obviously Red Queen came first, but I absolutely loved Powerless, so if I can love Powerless, then I'm sure to love this book anyway. And I think it is again one of those kind of classic fantasy series, because I've just owned it for so many years, and it's been on both my 2024 and my 2025 TBR. I think I owe it to the book to actually finally read it, so that's why I've put it on the 3rd yearly TBR. But 2026 is finally the year that I am going to at least read the first book in this series. And lastly, for the last book on my 2026 TBR, we have A Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. Again, like I said, this is a carryover from 2025. I think it was a Christmas present in 2024, so I haven't had it for that long. I've had it for around a year. I watched the Netflix show of this one and I absolutely loved it, so my mum bought it for me as a present for a book, because she also watched the TV series and loved it, and she also likes to read, so I'm sure eventually she might like to read the book as well. But this is one that I did really want to get to, I just haven't picked it up because I know it's going to be a very emotional read, because the TV show was very emotional and had a lot of things going on and is very deep, and I think it is kind of a book that I don't often reach for, if that makes sense. Like, it's definitely more of a general literary fiction, I think, or like with a bit of drama, I suppose, which I don't have anything against. I do enjoy that genre, it just isn't one that I pick up all the time, and I feel like I have to be kind of in the right mood for that. I think that's probably why I haven't picked it up, but I definitely want to make it a priority for next year, because I loved the show so much and I think I'm gonna love the book as well, and I kind of want to revisit the characters, because I did grow to care for them watching the show, and I think that will impact me even more reading the book. And sometimes I do just love a good cry at a book, and I think this one will make me cry, so definitely need to make sure I read it next year. So those were the 26 books on my 2026 TBR. Hopefully I will manage to complete the TBR next year, unlike the past 2 years, but I think I still did a decent job the past 2 years. Like, you know, 18 is still a decent amount, but I think a lot of these books are ones that I am genuinely really excited for, and ones that I think the excitement will kind of last the whole year, whereas a couple books that I put on, for example, Atonement by Ian McEwan, which is like a modern classic, that was on my 2025 TBR because I really wanted to read it, and I still do want to read it because obviously I own it and it's on my physical TBR, but it was just one that I kind of slowly got less and less excited for, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to pick it up right now, so that was a kind of fail for the 2025 TBR. But this time around I feel like that all these books are ones that I will still want to read the whole way through the year, if that makes sense. So I think we have a good chance for success with all these books, especially because a lot of them are are my 5-star predictions. So I think it's going to be a good reading year if I do manage to get a lot of these done. And I also have a lot of other books that aren't on this TBR that I'm excited to read. So I think it's looking like 2026 is going to be another amazing reading year. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like and perhaps comment below. You can comment some of the books on your 2026 TBR if you've got one, or maybe your thoughts on any of these books that I've mentioned, which ones I should prioritize. And also, if you want to see more videos like this, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to me, and hopefully I will see you in the next video soon.